So welcome to the sixth and final part of the GSXR 750 project series. In this episode we are putting the icing on the cake and we're going to be fitting a quick shifter. But it's not just any quick shifter, this is the mother of all quick shifters, the HM Quickshifter Plus SS. So it's been a bit of an emotional series, this one, and coming to the end of it, you know, the learning curve has been incredibly steep doing all that we've done to this motorcycle. We've improved the power, we've totally changed the handling with the suspension upgrades that we've done. We have fitted full crash protection, we've changed the braking system, and now, as I said before, this is really the icing on the cake. Now, I suppose, what's the reasoning for a quick shifter? Well, if you've ever ridden a motorcycle with a quick shifter, it is, I think, it's just a good thing to have. It makes the acceleration much cleaner, much smoother. And let's be really clear about this. I don't think my riding is at the point where I'm after that last tenth of a second or I'm after that last half of a second that a quick shifter could genuinely make that sort of level of difference. Ultimately, we're doing track days, so it's not, you know, we're not actually chasing that full lap time either. But what a quick shifter does for me is that there's quite a number of long corners on some of the tracks that we go to that, you know, you could really do with changing up gear while you're still at quite high lean angles. And at the moment, even clutchless upshifts, which is what I did at the last track day, you know, when you go up, knock it into the next gear and get back hard on the power again at high lean angle, it just upsets the whole bike really. So in effect, what I've ended up doing is holding onto the gears a lot longer and sometimes hitting the rev limiter as well. So the concept of having a quick shifter should just make that whole process on those part of the tracks just so much more smoother, and it should enable a little bit more relaxation as well along the straights, which sounds like a crazy thing to be thinking, but rather than head down and, you know, rolling off, banging it up, getting it back on again on the gas, you know, now can just literally hold it wide open and knock it up through the quick shifter. And I think that's going to make the track day experience much better. So that, without further ado, let's get on and fit it, and then we're going to show you how it works. So that's it, we're now fitted with the HM Quickshifter Plus SS. I have to say it was actually quite easy, a little bit daunting because I've never done that sort of stuff before, but definitely if you can change a spark plug or, you know, take your airbox off or something like that, it's really not that difficult. What I definitely would recommend is check out the guides that are on their official YouTube channel. They're really helpful, and just follow them. That is probably the best way to actually work out how to fix them. So now we're going to get out there and see how it performs, see how it behaves, and we've got a little bit of a special plan for that. So stick around for a couple of seconds. So we're about a month in now for having installed the HM Quickshifter Plus SS. We've done quite a lot with it in that time. We've been on the airfield doing some really high speed work and sort of trying to drag race a Panigale V2, pretty unsuccessfully I'll add, but we did do that. We've been doing quite a lot of road work, and I've been on track at the really famous Donington Park International Circuit, which was just fantastic. Initial feedback has been amazing, and I have to say the reasons for me putting a quick shifter on the bike has totally matched the results, and you know, basically a summary is big thumbs up. It's been fantastic. On the track, I suppose that's where it really shines. It's totally improved the way that the bike rides and the whole experience of riding on track on this motorcycle is taking it to another level. Basically on the straights I'm just able to 100% hold the throttle to the stop and be able to just bang up through the gearbox. It's going to sound a little bit weird this, but basically it just enables you to think a little bit more about what you're doing, give you that little bit of time rather than focusing so much on the next gear change and that whole action of either clutching in, winding off the throttle, obviously engaging the gearbox and going into the next gear, or what I did at the previous track day, which was the clutchless upshifts. There's still quite a bit of activity involved in that. Having the quick shifter, you just hold it to the stop, bang up the box, and it's a much more good experience. Basically it enables a little bit more thinking time for what's coming ahead. The other major improvement is on some of the long sweeping bends that we have, that a traditional gear change kind of interrupts the bike a little bit. This is now so much smoother with the quick shifter because it's enabling that smooth shift up into the next gear while still carrying a lean angle, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. And then we take it onto the road, and I think probably the biggest thing for the road, of course it's a really nice experience having a quick shifter, and any bike that's got a quick shifter, if you've ridden one with a quick shifter, it is just a good experience. But you know, look, it's no secret this isn't the latest sports bike, but what it has done is it's been one of those upgrades that's made it feel significantly more modern than the motorcycle it is, and it's certainly brought it in line a lot closer to a super modern sports bike. Now there's a bunch of reasons why I actually think that I prefer riding this than a super modern sports bike, and I'm not going to cover that now actually, but what this has done is sort of bridge the gap between the 2021 models and something that's ultimately about 10 years old. So that is a fantastic experience, and I know going back to traditional shift is going to feel like a step back in time, so I think it's been a really fantastic upgrade to make this bike feel so much more modern. So the quick shifter that I did install was the HM Plus SS. Now there's basically two main methods of which quick shifters are made. They're either made using a switch or they're using a strain gauge. So all of the OEM quick shifters that you'll find that are already fitted to your bike, and a lot of the other aftermarket ones, are based on switch technology. So it's basically there's a control unit, you've got your gear lever, and you switch it up, and it's like a light switch. Do I engage the next gear or do I not? So it's a bit on and off. HM are very different and they've got quite a unique construction method, because this is a strain gauge. So rather than an on or off switch, it's done in mind of how much strain or how much pressure you're putting through the gear lever, whether it engages the next gear or not effectively. What that means is you can really dial in how much pressure you want to apply to the gear lever to get it up to the next gear. So case in point, on the road I'm using short boots, a bit more casual. I don't use racing boots on the road, so I'm actually running it quite sensitive, which is great. And then when I go on track, obviously I've got a racing boot on, and I probably need to dial that back a bit, because the amount of force that I'm putting through my racing boot, it's just a much clumpier boot basically. So I could dial back the sensitivity and make it a bit more positive. What it also means, having a strain gauge, is that there's no moving parts within it as well, no switches to sort of vibrate out of place or get worse over time. This is a no moving parts thing, so it's much more robust, much more accurate, and has the ability as well to transfer it to different bikes. So if in 12 months time, whatever, I decide to buy a ZX10 for example, I can just move it from this bike onto that one, and all I need to change is the little shift lever in between. So the other thing with the Plus SS is the seamless shift that comes with it, and this was the right option for me because I'm not only riding on track, I'm riding on both on road and on track, and they're entirely different types of riding. Obviously on track you're changing very high RPM most of the time and under a high gear load, and then on road obviously it's much more relaxed. Generally speaking, for a quick shifter they've got like a set kill time, so typically for this one we would set it at like 60 millisecond kill time between changing up a gear, and what that can mean is that if you're not changing in exactly the right RPMs or loading of your engine, it can be a bit notchy. Now, because this has got the seamless shift, it's got a really clever algorithm inside of it that's actually monitoring what is going on in terms of your engine load and your RPMs as well, and it'll adjust it on the fly. And that has basically means that whether I'm shifting on the road at lower RPMs or whether I'm shifting right high up in the RPMs at sort of full throttle, it's just been really smooth, and I think it's a fantastic solution. And just a quick note to say, obviously because this is an older model and it's got a throttle by cable, this is not a down shifter blipper option, although you can get them now. If you've got a new modern motorcycle that's got a ride by wire throttle that's connected to the ECU, they're actually doing these quick shifters that are quick shifter and blippers, and they'll connect them to the ECU, so you'll get that whole package, but it's just not possible on this particular motorcycle. So as I said, this was really the icing on the cake for the GSXR 750 project, and is the last major upgrade I'll be doing to the bike, and I have to say it is absolutely mint now. And I'm not going to go over all of the stuff in this video because it's probably gone on long enough, but I will do another one, a bit of a finale one, where I'll talk about all of the bits that I've done to it and sort of piece it all together for you, really, what I've learned, you know, how much it's all cost, so on and so forth, and then what is the next step from here. Basically for the next 2 months we've got 3 or 4 track days booked, so I've got to ride it a bit more, but there's also what's going to happen after then, and hopefully I can share some of that stuff a little bit later. But until then, thanks very much for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, please check out all the gear that we use, and I'll put the link in the description for the Quickshifter too. We'll see you next time.